Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Daily Debate. My name is Ahmed Nader, and tonight we'll be focusing on the presidential activities of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in the past, specifically 2 days on Friday and on Saturday, as President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi participated through the video conference at the G20 Compact with Africa Summit through the video conference, according to the statements of the presidential spokesman Bassem Radi, and stated that Egypt had a number of challenges, specifically or especially during the times of the coronavirus pandemic and the fight against the COVID-19 in Egypt. We had a lot of challenges, but Egypt managed to be dealing with them successfully. Of course, the summit was headed or initiated by Germany and the German Chancellor Angela Merkel, as President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi hailed the efforts and the cooperation and the coordination between Egypt and Germany under the tenure of the German Chancellor. The other activity of President al-Sisi that will be shedding more light on tonight on the Daily Debate is the participation at the Baghdad Summit in Iraq, as President al-Sisi had a number of statements of coordination and cooperation between Egypt and Iraq, and the bilateral cooperation between both countries, and the trilateral cooperation and coordination between Egypt, Iraq and Jordan in the past couple of years, to be specific. We'll be having a report, but first of all, I'm honored to be having with me tonight on the Daily Debate engineer Hassan Shabaan, the political analyst. Thank you very much for being with us tonight on the Daily Debate.
Thank you for inviting me. Appreciate it.
Anytime. We will be having a report about the participation of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi at the Baghdad Summit and the statements of the Prime Minister of Iraq, Mustafa al-Kadhimi, about Egypt. So let's see them.
President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi affirmed the need to accelerate the implementation of joint projects between Egypt and Iraq so that the economic achievements between the two countries align with their political achievements. The president's remarks came in a meeting on Saturday with Iraqi Prime Minister Mustafa al-Kadhimi on the sidelines of the Baghdad Conference on Cooperation and Partnership. The meeting followed up on the executive position on the bilateral cooperation projects between the two countries in various fields. President al-Sisi and al-Kadhimi also followed up on the implementation of trilateral cooperation projects involving Egypt, Iraq and Jordan. They affirmed the necessity to build the outcome of the latest trilateral summit in Baghdad last June. The Iraqi premier hailed Egypt's role in supporting Iraq on all levels, particularly in facing joint challenges, chief of which is counter-terrorism and achieving security, stability and development. He said that the Egyptian role represents a strategic depth for the country on the regional and international levels. Al-Kadhimi expressed willingness to enhance cooperation frameworks with Egypt on the bilateral level and also on the trilateral level along with Jordan. President Sisi expressed appreciation of his visit to Baghdad. It strengthens the establishment of principles of the Egyptian policy to support Iraq and maximize the Iraqi Arab national role. This comes through establishing a strategic partnership between the two countries that's based on integration and the achievement of joint developmental goals. Al-Sisi and Al-Kadhimi discussed also the political and security situation in the region, as well as developments of a number of regional issues of mutual concern. They also discussed Egyptian-Iraqi efforts to counter terrorism. Delivering a speech at Saturday's summit in Baghdad, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi hailed the great achievements made in Iraq under the leadership of Iraqi President Barham Saleh and Iraqi Prime Minister Mustafa al-Kadhimi. He also affirmed Egypt's rejection of all foreign interventions in Iraq affairs and the illegal aggression on its territories.
Welcome back. You're still watching the Daily Debate. Engineer Hassan Shabaan, how did you read these statements made by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi at the Baghdad Cooperation and Partnership Summit in Iraq?
The president really was not really stating a speech from a piece of paper. That was a heart-to-heart talk from the Egyptian president to the Iraqi people to actually bypass the tribal quarrels and the radicalism of certain groups in Iraq and try to build Iraq for a better future. And he offered the help of Egypt, the assistance in the different programs in Iraq. As a matter of fact, we are there already in Erbil. We started, already launched. Some of the Egyptian companies are already working in Erbil. But the president was urging the Iraqi people to, just concentrate on development and, don't look to the back and, rebuild Iraq that we all know of, that the country that had a great history and a very prosperous future if, the peace, efforts will be fruitful in the near future.
The interest of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi was evident in having more cooperation and coordination, not just with Iraq, but with Jordan as
Definitely,
well.
yes.
What is the importance of having good relations between both countries at the same time, the trilateral cooperation between the three countries?
You see, peace is coming slowly to the Middle East, but Jordan is the bridge between Egypt and Iraq. And once we coordinate the three countries, I think we will see a lot of very fruitful results for this cooperation. This tripod, Iraq, Jordan, and Egypt, have a lot of potentials. Iraq is, one of the leading oil-producing countries in the world.
Yes.
Jordan, is a link between Iraq and Egypt. Sinai is under development right now. A lot of investments are being invested in Sinai. I think very soon we'll see a mass economical gathering in this particular area. Hopefully, Syria one day will again join the group, and it will look different if all the Arabs are getting together in this particular area. I think it will be very fruitful. Remember that we had a huge number of Egyptians at one time in Iraq.
Yes.
They worked in various fields actually. And a lot of them did not leave Iraq even when Iraq was under pressure and they had this chaos after the war over that. Yes. I think the president actually addressed his speech to the foreign, troops that intervened in Iraq. I think everybody will have to respect the sovereignty of Iraq, and any old and foolish ideas about changing the borders or that will be just not possible because Iraq is gaining its sovereignty actually.
How did you see the statements of President al-Sisi once again that the security of the Gulf, security of Iraq is a part of the Egyptian national security?
I really liked that Kuwait was present in this particular conference actually.
Yes.
Iraq and Kuwait, actually, that was a conflict that we bypassed. And, Kuwait is participating in this particular conference. This has a meaning, actually. But again, having this area enjoy tranquility and peace, this will reflect on the Gulf, because I think the conflict between the U.S. and Iran requires a very stable Gulf countries. And I think Iraq is handling the whole thing, you know, the new foreign policies in Iraq is very wise and establishing good relations with the Gulf countries. I think it will be very fruitful to coordinate between the Gulf countries and Iraq and, of course, Jordan and Egypt. The president always said that we are supporting the Gulf countries. Having Jordan and Iraq with Egypt in this, you know, cartel, it will actually be very beneficial to the Gulf countries.
The fields of economy and investment, of course, they were discussed between President Sisi and the Iraqi President Barham Saleh ahead or before the Baghdad Summit for Partnership and Cooperation. How do you see those specific fields being enhanced in the near future between Iraq and Egypt?
You see, Egypt is now a model country for the whole area that suffered from the civil wars and the terrorist activities.
Yes.
You see, we are developing. Indeed, we might be under a lot of pressures, but we did not stop developing our country for the last 5 years or 6 years. So we are a role model for a lot of the countries in the area, and Iraq is one of them. They are looking to Egypt as a role model. And I think the Egyptian experience in developing the country could be repeated over and over again in Iraq, in Libya, in, you know, whenever, you know, peace takes place. And, you know, I think Egypt will be, the experience of Egypt will be very beneficial to Iraq, actually.
One of the statements made by the Iraqi President Barham Saleh that Egypt now has a central role in the region under the tenure of President Abdel Fattah Sisi. How do you think the role of Egypt in the region has changed under President Sisi?
You see, I think President Sisi is approaching the problems in the area in a very wise manner. He's not rushing to things. He's not coming to conclusions in a you know, he's very rational, and I think he's handling it very well. You know, we have a dispute in the West between Algeria and Morocco. In no time, our foreign minister is connecting both countries to cool it off a little bit. Again, you know, President Sisi met with Prince Tamim, actually, of Qatar.
Yes.
And that was a surprise move, because everybody is under the pressure that we are in a dispute. Egypt is not in a dispute with anybody. We do not intervene in other people's affairs. And we don't stick our nose in their, in their affairs. So we expect the other countries to deal with this.
The same for ourselves.
Exactly. So I think President Sisi sat on the other side of the table in front of the Turkish foreign minister, and I think Egypt is handling the foreign policy in a very wise way. We're not dashing to problems. The way we handled the Renaissance Dam is a model. Everybody was expecting Egypt to get into war. We do not really handle things the way you used to in the past. We're not going to, use aggressive solutions unless it is a matter of life or death. But all the solutions are laid on the table, and I think we will be able to handle and cool off the problems of the area.
This is the second visit of President Abdel Fattah Sisi to Iraq in the space of 2 months. What does this say about the relationship now between both countries?
We're regaining the Iraqi-Egyptian relations that used to be in the 80s and the 90s, actually. This is how it used to be. So I think Egypt is working very hard to develop a coordination between all of the countries that in the area that have something to do with the coming phase of peace in the Middle East. We all will have to share the same view, actually. A lot of countries now recognize the present situation in Palestine. But again, Egypt and Jordan and Iraq have a point of view, and I think they're coordinating and they're going to lay a completely different point of view on the table. I think the solution of the two states in Palestine is coming up because the three countries share the same view, and I think this is what's getting them together.
The first visit of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to Iraq was in June to be attending a trilateral summit between Egypt, Iraq and Jordan. Yes. One of the fields or one of the things that was discussed during that summit was the field of energy, the file of energy between Egypt, Iraq and Jordan. How do you see the future of energy in Egypt and the way that we are going now with the exporting of energy, the cooperation in energy between Egypt and different countries now?
Well, we have the infrastructure to actually use the gas produced by others, refine the oil, crude oil produced by others. I think we could have something similar to the Sumet pipeline from coming from Iraq through Jordan. I think that something is there actually, and it could be developed, to reach the Mediterranean through maybe Arish, from Jordan to Arish or something like that. But under the coming peace, a lot of things could be, handled actually successfully.
During the summit, President al-Sisi also met with the Kuwaiti Prime Minister Sabah al-Khalid al-Sabah. What do you think was discussed between President al-Sisi and the Prime Minister of Kuwait?
I think that President Sisi would like to see more investments, Kuwaiti investments in Egypt. He's probably encouraged the monarch of Kuwait to get into a serious investment in Egypt. What we would like to see this happen.
Yes.
Egypt is booming right now, and it requires all the help that it can get from our brothers in the Gulf.
And the organization of the summit itself was co-organized by the French President Emmanuel Macron. Yes. How do you see this step?
I salute France, actually, and I salute the President of France for this move, actually. It's a remarkable move, and it deserves all the respect. I raised my hat and salute the French President for this move, actually. Unexpected, but a role model for countries like other countries, actually, to go on this. We're sick of aggressions and wars, and I think France handled the issue very nicely, actually.
Speaking of other countries and the other activities of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi was to be attending through the video conference the G20 Compact with Africa Summit online, and it was initiated by Germany and the German Chancellor Angela Merkel. We will be having more details about this summit and the participation of Egypt and the Egyptian President al-Sisi in it in the upcoming report. So let's see it.
President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi thanked German Chancellor Angela Merkel for her efforts and cooperation during her term in office, which helped boosting partnership between Egypt and Germany at the political, economic and trade levels. In his speech before the G20 Compact with Africa Summit on Friday, President Sisi wished Merkel success in all her future steps and plans. The G20 Compact with Africa Summit was initiated under the German G20 presidency to promote private investment in Africa, including in infrastructure projects. The G20 Compact with Africa Summit primary objective is to increase attractiveness of private investment through sustainable developments of the macro, business, and financing frameworks. Presidents of a number of international institutions which are partners in the initiative attended. President Sisi's participation in the G20 Compact with Africa summits comes as they represent an important international forum for continuous communication with the G20 group. The summit also represents a distinguished platform for explaining the Egyptian experience and developmental achievements Egypt has achieved over the past years.
Welcome back. As we did see in the past report, the participation of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi online or through the video conference at the G20 Summit Compact with Africa engineer Hassan Shabaan. What are the messages that were sent by President al-Sisi through the participation at the summit?
I think in the end of the speech, actually, the president summarized what he wanted to say. He invited all the G20 countries to honor and respect the decisions that they've made earlier in other conferences to assist Africa to develop and increase the interest and the investments in Africa, allocate more budget to develop the African countries. You know, the president being a former head of the African Union, he is completely aware of the promises that were made in the past to the African Union. And a lot of these promises were not yet fulfilled. And I think Egypt is pushing for that.
Mm-hmm. One of the main topics that was addressed by President al-Sisi was the Egyptian economy, and speaking to the other leaders and the heads of governments of the G20 and Africa, that Egypt managed to be dealing successfully with the challenges, the economic challenges that we had seen or we had confronted in the past year, specifically during the coronavirus pandemic. Why do you think President al-Sisi mentioned the capability of the Egyptian economy now to them?
I think the president wanted to point out that Egypt invested a lot of these, you know, the loans and the facilities that we took from banks and in the infrastructure, and he's inviting the international community to come and mobilize to Egypt and utilize this infrastructure to the benefit of the investors, the Western investors. You know, because, you know, these infrastructure that Egypt have already constructed will have to pay back. And it will not pay back unless the investors come and utilize this infrastructure to their benefit and their investments.
So it's a message of security and safety for the investors.
Right, yes, of course. Egypt enjoys a lot of security and stability right now.
Yes.
We are just like a candle in the area, actually. You know, we managed to, you know, control terrorism to a great extent. And, you know, we're just trying to make it easy for the investors and change certain laws and rules to assist the investments to come and invest in Egypt.
The summit was initiated by Germany and the German Chancellor Angela Merkel, as she will be stepping down as the Prime Minister of Germany, I think by the end of the month. How did you see the career of the German politician Angela Merkel, and of course the cooperation between Egypt and Germany under her tenure?
Actually, Angela Merkel is a very special chancellor in Vienna that ruled in Germany, and we managed to develop a, you know, excellent relationship with Angela Merkel, and I hope in the coming future, with the coming counselor, we could actually continue this special relations with Germany. We received a lot of assistance from Germany, and we appreciate that. We hope that this cooperation will continue in the future between Egypt and Germany.
Would it see development in the foreign relations of Egypt or between Egypt and the countries of the Mediterranean, the Arab states, the African states, and the European countries? So it is for all over the world, if we can say that. How do you see the foreign agenda of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry in the past few years?
Well, let me put it this way. I think there is a lot of changes in the foreign policy, actually. I think Egypt is maturing, let me put it this way, politically maturing. We're not rushing into problems. We respect the international laws, human rights, and we try to, comply with the human code. We will not really drag anybody to disputes. We always try to solve the problems in the area in a peaceful way. So I think we're enjoying excellent relations with most of the countries that respect the general rules. And I think maybe in the near future, other countries that actually disagree with us and have a different point of view, maybe like Turkey and other countries, will actually realize that Egypt is a decent country and we do not intervene in other people's business, and we expect, the neighboring countries to behave in the same manner, actually.
Why do you think Germany had the idea of initiating a compact with Africa summit between the G20 and the African countries to be lending more support for the Africans now?
I think, Africa is a stage for, competition between a lot of countries, actually. China is there, Israel is there, the US is there, and I think Germany is trying to play a role, and I think, in the very near future, we will see some, German activities in Central Africa in the field of energy, renewable energy. I think with the new dam being built in Congo right now on the Congo River, you see Germany is, pushing aside the nuclear plants that produces electricity, and they're looking for clean energy. And I think, within a few years, the Inga project in Congo will be able to produce enough electricity to export it to Germany. And, this one step that I think Germany is considering. I'm optimistic with this, and of course, if ever something like this will happen, this electrical grid will have to be connected with our electrical grid to cross the Mediterranean to Europe then.
Yes, during the participation of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi at the Baghdad summit, I said that the Iraqi officials say that Egypt now has a central role in the region, and the same applies to the G20 Compact with Africa summit through the online or the video conference of participation of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, that the German officials and the heads of governments and the heads of states, they see Egypt as the cornerstone of Africa and the Middle East and the region in general. How do you see those statements once again being replicated, but this time from the G20 countries?
As I said, Egypt is very rational right now, and it earned the respect of most of the countries in Europe, in Africa, and Egypt is very ambitious. We are looking to develop, economical relations with Africa. And I think any boom, economical boom in Africa will reflect on Egypt, actually. So I think Egypt is geographically is a very unique location.
Yes.
But again, this location now with the wisdom of the policy that we're following, and foreign policy, I think we will see a lot of prosperity in Egypt.
Speaking of ambitions, President Al-Sisi is interested in having the expertise or transferring the expertise and the experience of Germany in education and technology. How do you see this happening in the near future?
We could revive projects like the coal project that we once had it, like 15, 20 years ago. We started the coal project, which was a very promising project to transfer technology and train a lot of young people in Egypt. Hopefully, this could again revive, and it could be, could actually add a lot to the experience, in the field of technology in Egypt. Germany could play a bigger role in this, in training and transferring technology to Egypt, actually.
Can there be cooperation in terms of security as well between Egypt and Germany and the G20 countries, especially that we have a successful experience in fighting terrorism?
I think this cooperation is taking place already. I think, the Egyptian government is coordinating very closely with Germany, especially, and with France. And, both countries respect the experience that we've gained in facing terrorism and fighting terrorism. And I think we're working together in this respect, successfully.
The amount of German investments in Egypt is amounting to about 7.1 billion euros. You think it can be even getting better in the future with better infrastructure, with building new cities, with having more roads, thousands of kilometers of roads in Egypt now?
I think, the transfer of technology and the Suez Canal area is ready to accommodate, German investments, especially in technology. I like to see that. We're very successful already in construction, but again, I like to see the German experience in Egypt adding to the expertise in Egypt a lot. We need that.
As I've mentioned, the statements of President Abdel Fattah Al-Sisi for the compact with Africa, the G20 summit, that we had some difficulties, we had some economic challenges in Egypt, but we've managed to be dealing with them successfully. How do you see the importance of the economic reform program that was implemented a couple of years ago in dealing with those challenges, especially during the fight against the coronavirus pandemic?
Well, of course, the coronavirus pandemic actually was a temporary situation, which is still going on right now.
Yes.
But we managed not to stop developing the country, actually. You wouldn't see a spot in Egypt that has no development. The government is touching all of Egypt, from the Mediterranean all the way to Aswan, actually. It's a non-stop trip that the government have started. And I think, we're very successful in doing this. But again, we need, after these projects are done, Egypt will be ready to accommodate foreign investments and, very special types of investments, actually. We do not require traditional investors. We require unique investors in the field of technology and the transfer of technology. And let's keep our fingers crossed, actually. Sinai, hopefully, after terrorism, might be the free zone and the heart of the area, actually, It's a very special spot, and we would like to see it gain more importance in the near future.
Speaking of Sinai, what are the investments that you envisage could be taking place there?
I would like to send a message. Sinai could be the source of salt to Europe, actually. It's an ideal place to produce salt, because the European countries, especially Scandinavian countries, and countries also on the Mediterranean, in great need of salt in winter time. I think an industry also could be established in Sinai to produce bromine, which is a substance or a material that goes into tranquilizers. Only a few countries in the whole world that produces bromine, which is a very special substance. I think salt. This is
from Sinai.
In Sinai, and especially Bir El Abd and Sabha, which is close to Al Arish in the north.
What can be done in Egypt to make it even more easier for the people watching us, for the potential investors from all over the world, that I can come to Egypt and invest easily?
As I said, I'd love to see Sinai, the new Wall Street of the area, actually. I'd like to see...
Not just in Sinai, in Egypt in general. What can be done? Having more laws, easier laws?
Well, we have a lot of laws already. We are required to filter a lot of our laws to make it easy for the investors to come and go transfer their funds, their profits, all of this. Again, we need to make it a lot easier for the investors in Egypt to come and enjoy investments in Egypt. A lot of red tape still controls our, but again, we would require to, go through our laws and try to filter these laws, because this is the main obstacle. I think the organization of, investments is modernizing right now.
Yes.
And your new laws and regulations are being modernized. But again, I think we require to prove this in reality and gain, a new reputation that Egypt is no longer a red tape country.
Do you think that the reputation of Egypt economically and financially and investment-wise was or is getting better under the tenure of President Sisi?
Definitely, yes. President Sisi is started a non-stop trip, actually, and nothing is stopping him. So I think sooner or later it's coming to this. I think the rules and the regulations of foreign investments in Egypt will have to be looked at. A country like Dubai is a role model,
The United Arab Emirates.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we would like to really compare our laws with others and see what's wrong with our laws and what encourages.
Are we getting there to the same level?
Not yet, but hopefully after the pandemic, maybe, and the annihilation of terrorism completely, we will see something going on, especially with the new cooperation between Jordan and Iraq, going through Sinai to Egypt. This flow of traffic could actually attract a lot of attention to.
Do we need a better pace or a faster pace of economic reforms in the country as an incentive for the investors?
This is wishful thinking. Yes, beautiful. Yes, why not? This is a dream coming true if ever it happens. We need these rules to be actually looked at thoroughly and modified. Yes.
Under the tenure of President Sisi, we had seen major projects in every field possible in the country, and even for export as well. And one of the statements of President Al-Sisi during this summit is that we need to have more projects to be fulfilling the market's needs in the country. What are the other projects that you think would be implemented under the tenure of President Al-Sisi?
I think we require to upgrade, the government to have ambitious programs to join hands with the private sector and upgrade a lot of the industries that we have. We have, a lot of industries that we could develop, and if we have a new formula to inject funds into these companies or industries, we might be able to develop these industries and reduce our dependence on importing these certain goods from outside Egypt. I wouldn't really, after all this, I wouldn't really think it's possible for us to still import dog food or cat food. This is all, we ought to just, be on the top of the countries that actually produce agricultural products and, close the gaps in our, on the list of the items that we export from abroad, actually.
Speaking of this summit, the G20 Compact with Africa, and as you've mentioned, Engineer Hassan Shabaan, the leadership of Egypt to the African Union a couple of years ago or a year ago, and the solid relations between Egypt and the African countries and the European countries as well. How do you think Egypt could be helping both sides?
Well, Egypt, the location of Egypt helps actually link Europe to Africa. I think we require, this road that links Alexandria to Cape Town is a dream coming true. If it ever happens, this will improve, a lot of the business chances in Africa. Hopefully, we will have another road, highway, to link the Red Sea to West Africa across the closed countries of the African Saharas that do not have, any coast. It's closed countries like Chad, Niger. All of these countries do not have, seafronts. So the Red Sea could actually work as a logistic location to these countries, and we could have a lot of business, with these countries.
And this brings us to the concept of a free trade area or an agreement of free trade areas in Africa. And that was one of the visions of President Al-Sisi during the rotating presidency of the African Union. How do you see this project being implemented so far in Africa?
Well, after the silence of guns, actually, I think there is an agreement to establish a free zone in Niger, actually.
Yes.
But again, this will not prevent us from, fulfilling our dream to have a free zone on both sides of the borders in Sudan and Egypt, and maybe establish a new government, a governorate over there in this particular area, and this becomes a free zone area and a window to Egypt to export the Egyptian products to Africa, actually. A free zone in this particular area will be excellent and develop the maybe the Halayib or Shalatin ports. The government also is paying a lot of attention to the Valley of Kena, which is a very fertile area. Again, agriculturally it is sound, but again, it's full of raw materials, and it's a very special area that could play a role in in the future. So I think we will see wonders in the near future if just terrorism is annihilated in Africa, because still the area of West Africa is still swarming with radical groups, and it's not really 100% stable.
Yes, Engineer Hassan Shabaan, the political analyst, thank you very much for being with us tonight on the Daily Debate.
Thank you for inviting me. Appreciate it.
Anytime. This brings us to the end of the daily debate for tonight. Thank you for watching and goodbye.